Stunna 4 Vegas and DaBaby looked unstoppable for a moment. Together, they were moving fast, making noise and shifting the energy in the rap scene like nothing could slow them down. From the outside, it felt like a perfect partnership. Two artists from North Carolina, rising at the same time, feeding off each other's momentum. But behind that success, cracks were already forming, and what started as a dream run would eventually turn into something much more complicated. Stunna 4 Vegas came up out of Salisbury, North Carolina, a place where opportunities don't come easy and most dreams don't make it past the block.
I hopped in and said the story was all cap. According to Stunna, he had a show out in Atlanta and left the chains in his way.
He grew up without his father around, and early on he tried to find a way out through sports. He put real effort into basketball and football, hoping that might be his lane. His cousin, Javon Hargrave, actually made it to the NFL as a defensive tackle, which showed that making it out was possible. But Stunna quickly realized sports weren't going to carry him where he wanted to go. So he pivoted. He locked in on music and started grinding from the ground up. Small studio sessions, small clubs, local shows across North Carolina. At the time, the money was light. Some nights he was walking away with a few $100s, sometimes less, even when the crowd was feeling it. But what he lacked in pay, he made up for in hunger. He kept showing up, kept recording, and kept performing, believing something bigger was coming. People in North Carolina started to notice.
Feel me? To go like separate ways. I'm like, man, I'm trying to go do some shit I got on the table and whoop, whoop. I can add you in on it or whoop, or we could just, I probably after talking a few times, we just, you feel me? It wasn't nothing more, nothing less than, all right, bet. And go do it.
Even before his name meant anything nationally, there was a feeling locally that Stunna had real potential. That's when a local DJ posted about him online. One post turned into attention. Attention turned into buzz. And that buzz traveled fast. Not long after, DaBaby saw it. By that time, DaBaby had already been putting serious work into his career. He'd dropped his first mixtape years earlier, and by 2018 his name was circulating heavily. He wasn't a global superstar yet, but he was clearly ahead of the curve. When the two finally connected, the chemistry was immediate. DaBaby recognized the energy right away. He saw something in Stunna that the rest of the industry hadn't fully caught yet. They didn't waste time. The day after linking up, they hit the studio and recorded Animal. The track took off almost instantly. Streams jumped, reactions poured in, and Stunna 4 Vegas officially landed on the radar.
Appreciate Baby for sure, anything he did, but like him putting me in every place or stage or platform that he put me in, I just stood on business. Like I did whatever I had to do for them folks to call back or for anybody to reach out that wanted to ever do business with me.
From that moment on, things moved fast. DaBaby kept Stunna close, bringing him into sessions, bringing him out on stage, and making sure his name stayed attached to the momentum. Within months, Stunna's life changed completely. He went from small local shows to real money nights, from scraping together gas money to seeing thousands come in regularly. DaBaby didn't just co-sign him, he pushed him. When DaBaby dropped his 2018 mixtape, Stunna was the only featured artist on the entire project. That wasn't accidental, it was a statement. That project did numbers. Roc Nation stepped in for distribution, giving it serious industry backing. Soon after, DaBaby secured a major deal with Interscope worth millions. And he didn't leave his people behind. When that deal came together, Stunna was brought along through DaBaby's label, $1 Billion Baby Entertainment.
None of our black women. Not the righteous ones, not the dirty, not the... I went home.
Overnight, Stunna went from local hustle to major label structure. The success stacked quickly. Stunna later said that even before the official signing, he had already made close to $200,000 from shows and features alone. The grind was paying off. Songs like Ashley openly referenced how fast everything changed, turning lyrics into real-life receipts of how quickly Stunna's situation flipped. But right when everything looked perfect, the tone shifted. Online chatter started spreading. Photos of jewelry began circulating. Blogs and comment sections started running with stories that something had gone wrong. The narrative moved fast, and suddenly Stunna's name was tied to rumors instead of music. Stunna responded quickly, saying the stories weren't true and that people were running with the wrong version of events.
Comes around the corner and he cocks and points it at me and tell me to get the back and told her, like, I told you not to go with that girl.
According to him, he was in Atlanta, focused on performing and working, not dealing with the chaos people were pushing online. But from that moment on, the energy around his rise changed. And that's where the story really starts to turn. Later on, Stunna finally addressed the situation during an interview on the Only Way Out podcast. According to him, the entire incident had been blown out of proportion. He explained that his vehicle was taken while he was away, and the jewelry just happened to be inside at the time. He made it clear that he never came face-to-face with anyone involved and didn't see it as a personal situation. More importantly, Stunna said he had no intention of paying anything to get the jewelry back. In his words, material things come and go, and he was focused on moving forward, not dwelling on losses. Even so, the conversation around that moment didn't die down, and it marked a subtle shift in how people viewed his momentum.
Signed a bad deal.
I got out of it. I just got them. Like I said, I should have known certain that I didn't really know. That
Right.
my new lawyer told me, like, once he got down to the nitty gritty, he like let me know.
By late 2019, it was noticeable that the energy around Stunna had cooled compared to the explosive rise he had experienced the year before. He had still accomplished a lot. A major label deal, strong collaborations, and appearances alongside established artists like Offset. But the buzz that once felt unstoppable was no longer moving at the same speed. That said, Stunna stayed active. He continued recording with big names, linking up with artists like Lil Durk and Lil Yachty. And every time he reunited with DaBaby in the studio, fans responded. Their chemistry was still undeniable, and the numbers reflected that whenever they worked together. In early 2020, Stunna released his second studio album, which debuted inside the top 30 on the Billboard 200. For someone who had started out doing small club shows for minimal pay, that was still a major milestone. Just weeks later, he reached an even wider audience by appearing on the track Go Stupid alongside Polo G and NLE Choppa.
Girlfriend.
Hold up, bring that back. Bring it. You
Nah,
did
look,
what?
I told him, y'all. I told him off camera. Wow, but to show my girlfriend, I did come to Houston. I found love in Houston, man. I found peace in Houston. I came to Houston and started thinking way different. I stopped doing a lot of shit I was doing.
That song became one of the biggest moments of his career and introduced his name to listeners who may not have followed him before. At that point, it felt like another breakout wave was right around the corner. But behind the scenes, the response to his newer music wasn't matching the excitement of his earlier releases. Some fans felt disconnected from the sound, while others simply moved on as trends shifted. Later that year, Stunna released another project, but this time the results were disappointing. The album failed to chart, and the difference was impossible to ignore. By 2021, he went quiet almost entirely. No major drops, no headline moments, just silence. Around the same time, DaBaby's own career hit turbulence after a highly publicized controversy, and suddenly both artists who once seemed unstoppable found their momentum frozen. What once felt like a constant climb turned into a long pause. In 2022, Stunna returned with a new project, hoping to reset everything. What no one realized at the time was that this release would end up being his final one under DaBaby's billion-dollar Baby Entertainment.
I'm happy for him because whatever you're doing now, that's what you want to be doing. That's what you'd rather be doing.
Tension had been building quietly, and the label atmosphere was no longer as unified as it once appeared. Part of that tension stemmed from the addition of another artist to the roster, a female rapper named K Kilo. She began releasing music and quickly attracted attention, positioning herself as a rising presence within the label. However, her moment arrived during a period of heavy public distraction as DaBaby's personal controversies dominated headlines and overshadowed other releases. As a result, K Kilo's music struggled to gain the spotlight it might have received under different circumstances. Behind the scenes, reports suggested that relationships within the label were becoming strained, and disagreements between artists began spilling into public view. According to circulating rumors, tensions between K Kilo and Stunna escalated significantly.
You supposed to do on the front end. You know what I'm saying? That's something you're supposed to do on the front
But
end.
he made it public.
Yeah. I mean, what made what public? The fact that
Like that, he wasn't with you no more. Yeah.
Yeah. He ain't supposed to let niggas play.
K Kilo made online claims describing a heated confrontation, while Stunna publicly denied those accusations, stating that he would never act in that way and suggesting the situation was being exaggerated for attention. The internet split into sides. Some believed Stunna's explanation while others questioned it, pointing to past lyrics and rumors tied to his image. Voices from his home state began speculating about whether he was avoiding certain areas, while Stunna maintained that his move to Houston had nothing to do with pressure or fear. In later interviews, he explained that relocating to Texas was a personal decision. He described meeting a fellow artist there, building a new relationship, and wanting a fresh environment. According to Stunna, the change helped him reset mentally and physically, allowing him to focus on healthier habits and new goals outside of constant industry noise. That period marked a turning point for Stunna for Vegas. Away from the spotlight, he started focusing on himself in ways fans hadn't seen before. He got back into working out regularly, stayed active, and even returned to playing basketball just for the love of it. One day at a local gym, he crossed paths with an AAU team. Instead of watching from the sidelines, he decided to step in and help. Stunna began managing the squad, covering expenses for shoes, jerseys, and even paying out of pocket to send the kids to tournaments. It was a quiet move that didn't come with headlines or hype, but it showed a completely different side of him. Less about image, more about impact. People close to him said this was the first time in a long while that he seemed genuinely at peace. By the time 2023 rolled around, Stunna was feeling burned out on the rap industry. The attention, the rumors, and the constant noise had taken their toll. He'd experienced the highs and lows, and he made a personal decision that surprised a lot of people. He asked DaBaby to release him from Billion Dollar Baby Entertainment so he could move on. Once the news broke that Stunna was no longer signed to the label, the internet went into overdrive. Some blogs claimed he had been dropped. Others said there was tension behind the scenes. Speculation came from every direction. To address it, Stunna went live and cleared one thing up. He said he wasn't forced out. The decision was his. At the same time, he made it clear he wasn't desperate to chase fame or force himself into situations that didn't feel right anymore. Some viewers took his comments as subtle shade, but later on, Stunna explained that there was no bad blood. According to him, people grow, priorities change, and sometimes paths just separate naturally. DaBaby eventually spoke on the situation as well. He said Stunna had reached out directly and that he genuinely wanted to see him succeed. While he admitted there were moments of frustration, he also made it clear that he didn't wish anything negative on Stunna's future. Still, fans noticed signs that everything hadn't been perfect behind the scenes. When asked in an interview whether he had signed a bad deal, Stunna said he was able to get out once he brought in his own legal help. He didn't directly accuse anyone, but the message was clear. He wasn't satisfied with how certain things were structured, especially financially. It was a complicated ending to what started as a brotherly come-up story. DaBaby played a huge role in putting Stunna on the map and opening doors early in his career. But somewhere along the way, Stunna felt the alignment was no longer there. For a while, many fans assumed Stunna was done with music altogether. Then in 2024, he surprised everyone by signing with a smaller independent label and releasing a new album. While it marked a return, the response showed just how much things had changed. The numbers weren't what they used to be. Songs that once would have pulled millions of streams struggled to gain traction. But at that point, Stunna wasn't chasing charts anymore. His life had shifted in a completely different direction. In 2023, he and his partner welcomed their first child. Not long after, they got married and started talking about expanding their family. These days, his focus is on stability, growth, and purpose beyond music. He's been deeply involved in youth basketball, helping young athletes develop and even talking about going back to school to strengthen his management skills. Financially, he's still comfortable thanks to decisions he made early on. Instead of overspending, he stayed grounded, driving a modest vehicle and stacking the rest. That choice spoke volumes. Stunna may have stepped away from the spotlight, but he's building a new chapter on his own terms. Fans have long hoped he and DaBaby might reconnect creatively, especially after the legendary run they had in 2019. And while that era may never be recreated, there was a moment that brought some closure. In October 2025, Stunna revealed that he reached out to DaBaby personally to take accountability for how things unfolded. They had an honest conversation and cleared the tension that had lingered for years. No expectations, no favors, just respect. The story didn't end with a comeback track, but it did end with growth. And sometimes that matters more. If you've been rocking with this breakdown, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment with your thoughts.